Wall Street is now online, baby. That's right. Visit the GW District. Shop the very best in men's and women's apparel and accessories, home decor, office supplies, books, pantry items, and so much more. The GW District is a retail marketplace of Black-owned products and media. We're both veteran and Black-owned, and we're bringing you the best online shopping experience with products made by small businesses. Come and experience the GW District difference today at shopgwdistrict.com. That's shopgwdistrict.com. The GW District, a retail marketplace of Black-owned products and media.
That's right. That's right.
But I never knew about the little things. Every single day, things get in my way. Someone has to pay for the little things. And I'm through with the scars and sick of my shoes and walking in the dark and it's got nothing to do with final solution. It's a box full of shit and I'm through with the cares when there's nothing to fix. When there's nothing to fix. When there's nothing to fix. And it all comes down to you.
Welcome to Pilgrim on Wrestling. Now time for the show.
Hey, man.
What's going on, my brother?
It's been a busy morning.
Yeah, you can say that. Oh, man, it's just been crazy. So with that being said, welcome to Pilgrim on Wrestling. Here on the STO, the Smokers Lounge. I'm your host, Kavanaugh, Southern Champ. And let me introduce you to the host with the most, who had a lot to say, which we're going to get into after this wonderful interview, Billy Pilgrim.
Fuck Clarence Thomas and his cabin.
Yeah, we were going to start there. Before we get to the wrestling. Bruh. Me and Princess Havoc, we chopped it up heavy about that yesterday in the podcast. And so I'm not going to have this take up too much of our talk today, but we can't help but to have the conversation. And me, myself, I told Prince Havoc, like I told a lot of people, this is bigger than just the abortion. This is the beginning of taking away free will. This is the beginning of taking away choice. And also, we're heading towards the Handmaid's Tale. For some of you people that have not watched the Handmaid's Tale or read the book, I suggest you go look at it, and this is where it's heading. Where women have no rights, no power, no respect, nothing in that world.
Well, it's not even just women. It's you look at what the police are doing, the protests, and you got people standing there, and the cops are just swinging on them like they're going for guns. And the best example I can give you, because they don't want black people, they don't want Mexicans or any women or anybody different from them, and the fucking idiots. And make no mistake about it, you are fucking dumb. That support them. And they're like, they go in mass and yell at them. They think they're going to be okay. And here's the funny part. When, like, for an example, Germany, they went out to the Jews, the gays, the criminals, da-da-da-da-da-da. And then, you know, when all that kind of started to get out of the way, then anybody who didn't quite agree with a certain guy who was in charge of the local village or hey, we don't like you because you're a little too eccentric. You know, it never ends. It just slowly gets whittled down. You know, it's like, okay, you were 300 pounds, you lost a shit ton of weight. Great. Now you're down to like, 205 and you started at like 450. Well, here's the problem. Now you got to go get surgery and have all that skin hacked off. So it's like, okay, and now, oh, well, now you also got to do this. And then you got to have, so it's never one thing. It keeps going. And now, again, I'm of Irish descent. Okay. My grandfather, I'm sorry, came over on the boat. Okay. Very stereotypical Irish Catholic, family, like, the whole story. And he drove into my head that they hated us. Like, he's like, don't let this current shit fool you. They hated you because one day he was not white. He was Irish. And he worked with Italians and he worked with Greeks and he worked with, like Jews and everything. And then the next day he was white because in the 50s and in the late 50s, 60s is when the big change happened for the Irish, in that they went from being kind of Catholic, non-white, to being white. And what they did was something very subtle. And this is why when people go on about big conspiracy theories, no. It's very simple. It's more strategic. You need to read more books on strategy. What they did was they changed on the census, you're white. So within a generation, by the time my uncles and my father and my aunts got to like teenage or like young adulthood, well, they were white. They were white. There was still probably some minor prejudice here and there for the Catholic thing or being Irish, but now all of a sudden it's white. And it went from the Irish and the blacks and the wasps and the da-da-da to all of a sudden going, oh, no. We're all the same thing. It's the blacks over there. Because what's going on in the South.
It was all about political shit because it was that vote.
It was also the civil rights movement. And one thing that Dr. King and Medgar Evers and Rosa Parks showed everybody in just the beginning of the civil rights movement was these people are not going to bend a knee. And I don't care who you are. If you're going to hammer down on a people and they don't give you that violent reaction to your, because here's the thing, when the cops are beating on you at a protest, or when they're harassing you, or they're pressing you, they want you to be violent. When there's a march, they want it to turn into a riot. So then they have the reason to point and go, see? So what they did was, it's like, well, these people aren't, we need to beef up our numbers. So how do we do it? It's like, all right, fine. The Italians and the Greeks in the mix kind of all look like us, sort of, and blah, blah, blah. All right, fuck it. And even the Jews, like when it comes down to religion, you check Jew, but when you say you're white, and next thing you know, all of a sudden, wow, numbers just grew. And then within the generation, stopped identifying as Irish, started identifying as white. So much so that I've had conversations with very pretentious, college students where they sit there and go, oh, no, you're white. I'm like, no.
I'm Irish.
You're the one going to college, asshole. Like, the Irish weren't, it doesn't matter what looked like. The Irish weren't considered white until one day. And then Kennedy was the big, like, oh, we have made it. But Kennedy had to steal the election. Yeah. So that's how they do things. They do things by controlling the way you vote, by these bullshit voting laws, closing down polling places, taking away your right to have medical, or contraception, gay marriage. We can't put you on insurance because you're gay. There's these laws that basically say you can bully their kids because you're gay or trans. And honestly, the gloves need, like the Democrats, they need to fucking nut up. Standing on the fucking thing of a building on one of the worst days in this country's history and singing Kumbaya, or fucking Nancy Pelosi doing poetry. I'm like, bitch, this ain't a slam fest. You are not auditioning for the school rendition of Rent. Okay, this is, you guys need to get mean. You need to do basically what Stacey Abrams did. Stacey Abrams is going to be the next governor of Georgia if Georgia and the Republican Party knows what's good for it, because this beautiful big black bitch, and I say that with all the love in the world, this fucking this fucking sexy motherfucker, Jackie Brown times 3, fucking coffee, came in. She got fucked out of the governorship by shady Republican shit that the Democrats just didn't fight back on. So what did she do? She mobilized the entire state of Georgia. She drove voting ranks, the whole nine, turned the entire state of Georgia, and Georgia turning blue is basically what won Biden the election. So for every racist, every right-wing person, every Trumper, every person that's in favor of this Roe versus Wade, you can thank Stacey Abrams for Biden being our president, because this beautiful fucking woman went out there and said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna fuck me out of the governorship. I got something for your ass." And she went home. She got a pedicure. She got those feet nice and massaged. She got them all polished up. She went out and bought really nice shoes. She learned a couple new dance steps, and she took that beautiful black foot and she put it so far up so many white asses in a beautiful Maya Angelou-like poem of "fuck you." She turned the entire state of Georgia blue, drove up all this voters registration, became a one-woman fucking war zone. And I almost want to hope that she doesn't get the governorship this time, because now I'm thinking, oh shit, you fucked her a second time. We're going to get time travel. She's going to cure cancer. Like, dicks are going to get bigger. Vaginas are going to get tighter. Fucking, up is going to be down. It's going to be on. And that is the one warning I will say to all these right-wing jerk-offs. You're going for...
Oh, they about to pay for it.
Let me tell you something. Enjoy this victory, okay? Now, here's the thing. Enjoy it, savor it, gloat, get it all going, because here's the deal. You go out there, fucking gays and their kids. You literally try to pass laws that you want to go after kids. You basically are saying 3 guys standing in a circle angry is considered a riot. And then you're creating laws where, like, well, technically, and by the way, this works both ways there, people. If 3 black guys angry can be, like yelling at a guy, and he can draw a gun and stand his ground and open fire, that works both ways. So if 3 angry MAGA guys are yelling at you and you feel threatened, hey, that's a riot.
Yeah. You
can pull that gun that you're allowed to own and go to town. Now, here's the deal. You're going after them, and now you just did this, and you're doing all this voter shit, and you try to storm the Capitol, the whole 9. You are Germany on the Russian front in winter. You guys have literally just opened a door you cannot close. And I think they are going to codify eventually Roe versus Wade. And I think there is a fucking win coming, because they are the minority, and it is becoming clear that, like, nobody really in reality is safe, and they're coming for your ass. And the whole June 6th thing, all these people, like, and here's the best part: when you do the dumb shit on their behalf, they're not going to come and save the day. People, so you guys enjoy this victory because you set something in motion. Because there's a difference. If you and I get into a fight, and I walk over and I grab your wife's ass, and and I say, hey, she's a hot piece of ass. She needs a real man. You and I are going to get into a fight, and punches are going to be thrown, bottles are going to be broken, shit's going to happen. Now, if I walk up, grab your wife's ass, and go, hey, she needs a real man, and I drop the word, well, now it's taking on a totally different thing. Now it's not going to be a couple punches thrown, and so on. Now shit is real, and you guys have just crossed that line. And I'm here for it.
I'm telling you this now, and I want people to pay attention to these next election cycles. Watch the Democrats get majority in the House and the Senate and by a nice margin, because the Republicans are on the wrong side of this. And they think that the economy is more important than this shit. They are dead wrong.
Well,
They're dead wrong.
It's not even the economy, and their shit doesn't help the economy, because their version of the economy is just to rob everything blind, and then when it crumbles, like with the banks, they just it's all socialism until they need a bailout, and then then they start the whole process over again. If you're somebody who really thinks regulation is bad for business, you really are a fucking moron and you don't know anything you're talking about. It's no business regulation is like leaving food on the floor for a dog. It's just going to keep eating until its stomach bursts. And the thing is, it's not even about they just want to control people. They want to make it so that they can control people. It's determine who can get ahead and who can't. It is mediocrity at its most prolific because it's people that don't again keep black people under thumb, keep anybody brown under thumb, keep women under thumb.
Yeah.
I
Because I'm gonna tell you what's funny. What people don't realize, 2 of the justices were accused of sexual assault, and then I read something about Clarence Thomas, which I never liked that motherfucker from jump.
I'm blacker than Clarence Thomas.
This motherfucker said, I'm going to make the liberals' life a living hell, and they made my 43 years a living hell. 43 years a living hell. So this wasn't even about overturning Roe versus Wade. It was about he knew that if he did that, it would be hard for liberals. Yeah. So we got one dude who basically used this as a vendetta because you the one decided to sexual assault this woman. No, and you got lucky and got away with it. And the other guy was pushed through, even though he had sexual assault. We do know that it was a Democrat. God damn it, the Republicans would have lost their fucking noodle.
Oh no, they do it. They do it now. Like it's always they are the most precious, little sad. That's why they lose their shit so easily. Whenever they are challenged or attacked or anything, you saw the video with the crazy white girl about a flag and she lost her shit. Yeah. They are the most precious. Giuliani got a slap on the back and called a scumbag, and it was this, oh my God, it's an assassination attempt. Like, nah, motherfucker. It was basically somebody coming up to you going, oh, truth. Here's truth. Truth. And honestly, I have to, first of all, whenever there's a ShopRite around, they're getting 100% of my money. Okay. If ShopRite is hiring these kinds of people, we all need to shop at ShopRite a lot more. You need to give this fucking kid a raise. If I had more money, I would find out who the fuck he is and post his bail. But I'm not going to lie. I would have fucking headbutted his ass. He wants to act like a New York street tough kid. I come from New York people with a little Southern rebel in me. Motherfucker, I got a headbutt for your ass. And the thing is, hey, Tom, I hate to break the news to you there, Tommy. 43 years, they made your life miserable. You just started something that you cannot finish. And you really have ignited, like I said, Germany probably would have won the war had they not done a couple of things. And one of the major mistakes they made was they went into Russia in the winter because, Russia won World War II. We didn't win World War II. Russia won World War II by just meat grinding warfare, by just sending bodies in to the point where it was just, we're willing to sacrifice 300,000 guys on Wednesday just cause you ain't gonna beat us, and they don't got shoes and like one gun for every 10 guys, and we're willing to send them all in, and they are all tough as nails, and that's what won the war. You just decide to go into Germany in the winter, or Russia in the winter, your ass is gone. And if you think we made your life miserable before, sweetheart, let me tell you, I will do whatever I can personally. I will donate my time and money to any cause. I will sign any petition to personally see to it that you never smile again. Okay. And, and I find it really funny that you want to go after gay marriage, conception, everything, but your black ass doesn't want to go after, interracial marriage. And here's the funny thing. It's hilarious that you think that eventually that's not going to be on the table.
No, that's going to be on the table.
Because here's the thing.
Because what's killing the white race in their minds is that it's interracial marriage.
But here's the best part. Here's the other thing, and I've bitten my tongue because I would like to have a career, and I'm not in the position, but I am, if I'm confronted with it, there's a lot of fucking white milfs in this industry, blonde and thing, and they maintain their relevance and their nice big fat paychecks by fucking black actors, and they fuck them 5, 10, whatever at a time, and then they go on their Twitter and they are clearly MAGA. They are racist as fuck. they are, like Laura Jensen was on there saying the overturning of Roe versus Wade is a good thing, and that trying to act like she's an intellectual. And again, the only reason why she's still around is fucking every inch of black dick from Vegas West has been in her, and that's the thing. Playing up that I'm a white mom from the suburbs. Oh no, black penis. Like oh no, the Titanic and I'm the iceberg. And I look, if you want to work with her, that is not my place to judge or whatever, or deny an actor his money or whatever. You make the choices you make in your life. But I don't like this fucking miserable bitch and Brandy Love and a bunch of miserable bitches like her. You can argue with me how you want. You could look at a guy like Dorky Darren or Richard Mann, who are good guys, good, intelligent human beings, real people who have real love in their heart, who are creative and actually put good things out there in the world. I've met both these guys. I have worked with Richard Mann. These are good, solid human beings with good reputations, and you can work with them all day in the most intimate fashion, and then look them in the eye and joke and talk with them. And then again, you make more money fucking Richard Mann than you would ever make fucking me. No matter how popular I get, no matter how hard I work, I could become Brazzers' top guy. You're always going to make more money doing interracial, because there's that racial aspect to it. And you can look this poor son of a bitch in the eye and go, yeah, you're a great guy, and thank you for paying my mortgage and keeping me relevant, and then leave. And then once he's offset, well, you're on your own. And Richard decides he's going to chew gum or play his music a little loud, and then the cops pull him over. And then when Richard's like, hey, what are you doing? Why are you being hostile? I'm just asking why you pull me over. And, and whatever, hey, shouldn't have been playing your music, Rich. You shouldn't have, whatever. Like, I don't. To me, that is a fundamental lack of humanity that you could, because I love black women and I want to work with more of them. I want to work with more Hispanic women. I want to work with more Asian women. I want to do a lot more things than you think. And I personally could not look Lyric Sky in the eye. I couldn't look Spanish Barbie in the eye. I would not be able to look Sophia Rosa in the eye, and be like, yeah, you're beautiful and I love fucking you all day. And thank you for that. And if I'm on camera with Sophia Rose, oh, thank you for I'm going to get nominated for an AVN now and possibly even win. And my pay rate just went up $200 just by being on camera with you and you saying nice things. I hope you have your green card on you, or I hope you have your ID on you when you're on your way home in case you get stopped, or, hey, don't resist. Bye-bye. You don't get to have control of your body but hey, that's not my problem.
And I'm going to tell you what was so funny, right? Now, these same people that were sitting here, and then we got to move on. These same people that were sitting here happy for Roe versus Wade, let me tell you who they are. They're going to be the same people in about 2 to 3 years, probably 5, being nice. They're going to complain about how welfare done went up. More people's on welfare, more people are on Section 8, more Section 8 housing is being built. They're going to complain about how child support done went up and how taxes has went up, period. Because something got to pay for all these kids. This surplus of kids is going to be born because y'all took away abortion.
Oh, I want to thank you for that. I'm actually going to do a video. I'm waiting for something to come in the mail. I was going to put a video on my Instagram. Now, you and I have been porn, and you're a good-looking guy. You're swinging. You're a Babe Ruth, and you have a very beautiful wife.
Thank you.
But before you had the beautiful wife, I'm sure you had very, very many beautiful wife candidates that were applying for the job. I am not as good looking as you, but I have been literally with hundreds of women, full on sex, like well over 200 women. Okay. And this is not a brag. I'm going to a bigger point. Now, if you add in blowjobs and other sexual activities, I'm pretty much in the 400 people range. Now, average looking guy, okay, somewhat of a cantankerous personality, 400 women. And here's the best part. I started off late. So we're talking within the last 20 years, 400 women. Okay. Never, not one STD, never, not one pregnancy scare. Okay. And here's the reason why: condoms. Okay. A little bit of effort, having condoms on me. I'm not gonna go into the big thing now because I'm gonna do the video. I'll put, unfortunately, you can only post 2 minutes on fucking Twitter, so it's gonna be on my Instagram. But just condoms, and the few times that I did do no condom, let me tell you something. My pullout game is legendary. It is the stuff of legend. One day when society crumbles and we're back living in caves, they will speak of my buddy Rich would bend the knee to me because my rhythm, it is on fucking point. I am like one step away from being able to do the Ron Jeremy trick. Like, that's how good it is. I have took minimal effort, and I have never put the risk of disease and or ever got a woman pregnant. So all this Roe versus Wade bullshit, as a real man, I took the responsibility. I wanted the sex. Okay, I've only had sex a few times where I really didn't want to have the sex. I just kind of did it for whatever reason. But I always was we're always in like, hey, sex. We're constantly wanting it. We're wishing it for it. Porn exists because guys wanted to exist and everything else. And this idea that, well, why didn't the woman, well, motherfucker, you mean to tell me you were just sitting around eating your courage away and this bitch descended down from a fucking tree and said, hey, motherfucker, what's in the bowl? And then, no, you're initiating this shit. You want to play ball. It's your job to bring your glove and mitt, your bat and your mitt, asshole. Like, bring condoms, okay? Like, I don't care if the chick's on the thing. I got my shit. My shit was on tight. My dick was protected, and I never had a problem. And given the recent events, I'm getting a vasectomy sometime this summer. I've been meaning to do it, but now I'm motivated to fucking do it. And now that I have insurance, I'm going to get it done. But it's like, I've over 400 women, no STD. I'm batting the fuck 1,000. I am the Ty fucking Cobb of fucking, and I've never had, and I only just turned pro fairly recently. So like, killing it, and it took next to no effort. And I'm going to go into it in the video, and I'm even going to give some tips because, like, in my heyday living in New York, man, I was getting so much ass. There were days where there wasn't enough time in the day to cash in on all that was happening, and it took little to no effort. So when you bitch about women and, oh, why did you close your legs, or why are you being a slut, motherfucker, you want them to be a slut. Guys slut shaming. Yeah. It's like you're a kid and all year you're like, I want Santa to bring me a new bike. I want Santa to bring me a new bike. I want a new bike for Christmas. Santa, please write. You're writing letters. You're begging your mom. You're begging your dad. You're begging your mom's boyfriend. You're begging the milkman that you weirdly look like. You're like, I want the bike for Christmas. I want the bike for Christmas. You get the bike. Christmas comes. You get the bike. And then you're so excited. And then you take the chain off and you whip Santa with it. It's like, motherfucker, how are you going to shame somebody for giving you exactly what you want? Every guy wants the same thing. Like, I'm not going to lie. If I went to a bar tonight, would love to walk in and have a woman see me and with little to no effort, just basically be like, here it is. One of us is going home.
All men would love to be able to get hollered at and I ain't got to go through all the trouble of getting the pussy.
Yeah. And here's the thing, you want a woman to fuck you on the first day. You want a woman to cut loose. You want a woman to do all these things. And then when she does them, you shame her, you make her feel bad. And then you go out there and go, women are fucking sluts. And then you get mad when you can't get laid. And it's like, dude, you literally are a fucking Sarte play. You are just like, you are the epitome of hell as other people. Like, what the fuck? Because, and here's the best part. Every time I've ever fucked women on one night stand, I've always called them either hey, you're welcome to stay the night or I'll pay for your cab ride home. If they stay the night, I pay for their cab ride home in the morning. I call them the next day. And sometimes women really do just want some dick. There have been nights where, again, it's on the first date, you meet through an app, or you're just going out for a bar for one beer. A chick sees you and she's like, I want some dick. And then she makes the move. And really, some people, it's just meant for one night. But you know what I do? I would call the next day, I would text them. I would say, hey, do you want to get together again? And you can tell when a woman is trying to give you the brush off. But here's the deal. Let them give you the brush off. You, again, it comes down to you there, Chief. You reached out to her the next day. You treated her like a lady. She fucking ate your ass on the first. She knew you. She met you at 7. She was eating your ass by 12 o'clock. This woman is not a slut. She's an American goddamn folk hero. Somebody get me a banjo and Bruce Springsteen. We need to be writing songs about this fucking woman. And then you treated her like a lady, and you texted her the next day, and she blew you up, but you texted her, you called her, you were willing to meet her again and have a drink. You treated her like a lady. What you did was you conserved and nurtured a natural fucking resource, and that woman's going to go back out there and continue to make dreams happen. Why? American goddamn folk hero, Bob Dylan, what are you doing? Where's my nasal fucking ballad for this goddamn dream maker? Okay? When a woman does this kind of shit, she shouldn't be shamed. She should literally have gays just throwing glitter over her head. It shouldn't be a walk of shame. It should be a goddamn triumphant, like in the Roman days, where people are just, people with lyres and singing and, skipping. Because then you would it'd be a lot more people getting laid. Again, I'm an average looking guy. I got next to no money. Sometimes I could see money with goggles, or what do you call it? The fucking things that you put up to your eyes, the binoculars. But I get laid all the time, and I work in the adult industry, and my name is growing because being a gentleman, treating a woman like a person, being nice, cleaning your balls, calling next day. And I'm not saying I'm not perfect. I have definitely fucked up and did some, and made some wrong moves, but minimal effort, it works a million. It's worth a million. And guys standing around and putting all the shit on women. And if you think women were fucking angry or stingy with the puss now, Jesus Christ, my man, you guys just. And here's the other thing. You're fucking my shit up. You're fucking shit up for the dudes that are doing the right shit. And it's time for us to start getting it. I'm going to start curb stomping motherfuckers. And I'm going to start, taking matters into my own. I'm going to start going Charles Bronson on motherfuckers because you ain't fucking up my shit. You want to be mediocre? You want to be a fucking, a rookie? You want to be a fucking loser? That's your business. Losers, rookies, part-timers don't get to dictate policy. Your ass is stay on the sideline and you talk shit in whispers and you feel like, oh, that should be me. Motherfucker, why? I am where I am because I put in fucking decades of fucking work and trial and error and failure. And I listened when I was supposed to listen and I do the fucking work and all this other shit. Motherfucker, I am where I am because I fucking fought to be here and I did the shit that I was supposed to do. So your ass that wants to sit there and put in the bare minimum and think you should get a woman that looks like Angela White, that looks like Jem Jules, that looks like fucking Bella Danger. No, fuck that. What are you bringing to the table other than mediocre dick that this woman, who clearly is handling her shit, should take the time of day to deal with your ass? Okay?
Thanks.
Like,
So, but hey, we need to get to the wrestling.
And that's why you need psychology in wrestling, folks.
Basically. So with
that's
that
why
being
the collar and elbow tie-up is,
yes, one of the greatest and basic moves of all time. And with that being said, now it's time for the pro wrestling smoke part of the podcast. And how do we start that off? Well, we go into the time machine and we bring back one of the greatest voices in all of professional wrestling history. I'm talking about Gordon Solie. So I present to you Pro Wrestling Smoke and Pilgrim on Wrestling presents to you Gordon Solie's Poetry Corner.
We got it all.
welcome, friends. And thank you for joining me in my little corner of the wrestling world in Gordon Solie's Poetry Corner. And I would like to dedicate this poem to all the ladies out there on this very troubling week. You are the real champions. I knew Clarence Thomas once. I met him at a bar. And I never liked him. But he kept talking about how he wanted to hit on that gorgeous woman at the end of the bar. And I looked over, and it might have been the Quaaludes or the 15 vodka tonics I had with my morning Irish coffee. But I looked over at this thing, and I took my glasses off, and I cleaned them, and I put it back on. And then I took them off again, and I cleaned them. And I got to tell you, what I looked at, I can only describe as if the calorie count from a Cracker Barrel menu and one of Rush Limbaugh's chins fornicated inside a Hot Pocket and had a baby. That is his wife. And I was just like, really, wow. I don't know what to tell you. You have the personality of an affected board there, Thomas, but clearly you can do better than that. But anyway, enough about the houseboys and the weird manatees that love them. This is a poem for the ladies called The Champion. She stands in the wings of the stage of life. She is allied with time. I hope she stands there as a friendly victor, for she will surely win. Don't anger her, or your word will be paid. Caress and accept her edict. And gentlemen, take it from the dean. You need to love and respect women, because without them, we wouldn't be anything. Like the great poet James Brown said, it's a man's world, but it wouldn't be nothing without women and the girl. And I give you a very special thank you to all the women for everything that you do, and a very special go fuck yourself to the Supreme Court. Kavanaugh.
There you go, people. Even from back in the day, knowledge from one of the greatest of the pro wrestling world, Gordon Solie. Most definitely. Oh, man. So, after everything that went down this week.
But hold on, real quick, though. She really does. You ever see his wife? If the calorie count from a Cracker Barrel menu and one of Rush Limbaugh's chins fucked in a Hot Pocket, that's what his wife looks like. Seriously. Like if you left mayonnaise out in the sun and put it in a baby booty, that's what his wife looks like. It's like, if there was ever an argument that the white gene needs to be spread out and mixed with other things, it's that fucking that weird jar of fucking Noxzema.
I swear it's that's why I was happy about this pay-per-view. I didn't get that. I watched the highlights and everything. And we're talking about the Forbidden Door, because that's what we're going to talk about today is the Forbidden Door. The matches that went down in the whole nine. I don't think we're going to get to any WWE's talk. We do, it just be just a little touch, but not much. Because to be honest with you, ain't really much going on with WWE, to be honest with you. That's even worth talking about. So, but on the whole, from looking at what went down in the pay-per-view, the reviews, and then the highlights I saw, this was a damn good pay-per-view. Better than the build for it, and better than I even anticipated. And pardon me, and even with the buy-in, I was like, damn, I wish I had 50. Because it was a damn good pay-per-view for what I could see. Period. Every match was damn good. Even to the women's match, even though it was 10 minutes, it still was a good match.
Well, that's the thing I heard the most. That's the thing I heard the most about was that the women's match was good. And to be fair, a lot of people were praising the Orange Julius match, which and
I told you, well, it was going to be a good match. Because I knew that them two would mix well together, especially Orange Cassidy. And also, let me make this perfectly clear, people. There's a reason why I'm high on Will Ospreay. He knows how to call a damn good match. And he called that. And also, if you pay attention, let me tell you, he listens to Jim Cornette, apparently, as much as he don't like him. He saves his best wrestling moves for his pay-per-view matches and gives you good bare minimum on his regular matches. Because this match was actually the match of the fucking night. I actually watched the whole thing on YouTube. I got to find it again. Because the problem with YouTube is when they post a match, if you don't watch it right then and there, eventually YouTube come and takes it down.
Yeah.
So I watched it, and man.
I mean, again, I always say that I have my opinion. I don't say my opinion to be fact. I could be wrong. Who knows? I might find the match. I might watch it. And again, I'm man enough to admit if I'm wrong. But remains to be seen. But again, like the build-up is poor, and the history stands for itself. With Will Ospreay, I never had to worry about. It's the whole you're gonna do things.
Worried about Orange Cassidy, and Orange Cassidy did his thing. And I told everybody, Orange Cassidy's a damn good he's actually not fucking good. He's a great fucking wrestler. It's the gimmick that he has that, to me, takes away from his wrestling ability. And like I was telling you, by the way, Pro Wrestling Smoke this week is free. So after y'all hear this, go over to Pro Wrestling Smoke and hear how we really talked about Orange Cassidy, because I don't want to really get deep with him on this one because we got a lot to get to. But when I saw him as Fire Ant, he had great matches. When he became Orange Cassidy, because it didn't dawn on me he was Fire Ant because he never showed his face. Period. And then when they mentioned that who he was, I said, oh, this motherfucker can go. It's just he uses the move set to fit the characteristics of what he's trying to portray. But I knew with Orange Cassidy, it was going to be a great match because Will Ospreay wants to have 5-star matches. He wants to have great matches. And even to the point that and two, also, I like the way that they also gave you something to look for after pay-per-view on both New Japan side as well as AEW. Because now we have you coming out of it to a certain extent.
Oh.
You got.
Sorry, I don't mean. Oh, never mind. I thought for half a second because I'm looking through my YouTube, and I thought I was getting there's a thing that says full show. I'm like, oh shit! I guess this is gonna fuck up my day because I have a lot of shit to do after the show. It's a fucking video game. Some fucking person.
I told you. You know what I'm saying? It's hard to find it if you do. It's not the greatest, and it don't stay up long because they'll take it down real quick. But like I said, that was to me the match tonight. And some of the takeaways from this, which I guess we can go into, because I'm not going to do the buy-in, even though the buy-in was damn good. Especially the Keith Lee and Serge Strickland match with El Desperado and Kane Maru. I can't pronounce his name. I hate to butcher it. That was a damn good match. And I told people, New Japan has the best wrestling in the world, dog. Their matches is going to be straight up great matches. Even with Yano, who is supposed to be there, which is funny. He's the only comedy act in all of New Japan. He's the equivalent to Orange Cassidy. Even his matches are damn good and somewhat serious with some comedy in it. And also, it was a big sports field. It didn't feel like sports entertainment. It felt like fucking pro wrestling finally. This was probably the best pay-per-view that AEW didn't put on in the 2 to 3 years that it didn't been in existence. Because it was more about the pro wrestling than the sports entertainment. Even though they did try to further some feuds. Of course, you had Ricky Starks coming out with Hobbs, which I had no issue with them talking shit to continue that feud or what have you. And everything.
Here's a question, because again, I've been seeing praise. I'm still not going to drop $50 on the show, but here's the deal: again, the build up and the presentation of a pay-per-view is just as important as the pay-per-view itself. So, is it not, because I'm sure a lot of people, not just because of the money. I mean, again, the reason now, if it was $25. I probably would have gotten the show. If it was even $30, okay. But when you're charging $50 in an era where everything is streaming and you pay a flat fee or whatever, you really gotta make that one pay-per-view that I got. I forget the name of it. The second to last pay-per-view, AEW pay-per-view with Jericho versus Eddie Kingston and everything. They did a job. Like, I need to see this. It was great. I loved it. I haven't felt that feeling in forever. And it was like, I need to see this. You need to create that buzz, because I'm not going to lie. It turned me off. I have to see the match before I judge the match with Orange Cassidy. But it's like, hey, this dude, I don't begrudge the gimmick for making the dude money. It was a brilliant idea, even though just because I don't like it doesn't make it not a brilliant idea. But it's gotten to the point where, man, you're phoning it in. You need to and here's the best part. If this match was so great, okay, well, now what does this mean? Are you going to now switch things up and now you're up a level? Or are you just going to go back to standing at ringside and try to be cool and get a laugh? But the important thing is, like, the vibe that you put out there, you got to make me want it, especially if you're asking for $50 fucking dollars in an era with $5 gas, $7 gas, the recession, all this other shit going on. You got to make me want it. That's
and I really think, like I said, the build up was not great. Now, granted, it was some cats that wasn't available to a certain time the way you can build it up, what have you. But shit, that's the internet. I remember we talked about FTR and how the Briscoes built up their match, even though it wasn't built up on AEW TV. They built it up with social media. And made people want to get the Ring of Honor pay-per-view just for that match alone.
Well, and here's the thing. That's the match that sold the pay-per-view. And here's the thing. It's a thing of you need to, again, and I get that, okay, you had all these big plans. And imagine, now, if the pay-per-view was really good, imagine if everybody had not been injured. But again, your job is the booker, so you need to, you can't just go, well, and then phone in on the build up. It's like, all right, well, guys are injured, that happens, especially in this day and age. You gotta stay revved. Again, to compare to myself, I'm working on my stuff. I got a deadline because I gotta have shit up by Exotica, and I teamed up with partnering up with a producer because I get my own head, because my thing is, I do want you to pay $25 for my videos if I could get it up to that. I do want you to spend all this money on me. And I make things. And when I'm in charge of editing in the final product, it's never good enough. So it's like, I got to do it better. I got to do it better. I got to do it better. And, I get my own way by just not being satisfied. They're getting in their own way by going, well, we can't have it exactly the way they want. So we'll just, like, no. You did a great job with the Claudio surprise. I thought that was very good. And he'd be a perfect fit for the Blackpool Fight Club. But, it was a lack. It really did a disservice. I think they would have made a lot more money. They probably wouldn't have lost. I think they lost money by not having Danielson and Punk on there. But you lost more by just a subpar. And also, you're not presenting the Japanese talent properly. And a lot of these guys don't speak English because they're big stars in their country. They don't need to come here. But back in the day, they had guys that they're like Gary Hart. Their specialty was foreign wrestlers, and they had to talk. Or now, again, we can't do the thing of, oh, he's a foreign wrestler. That means he's a foreign menace. But there's got to be guys out there, or you have to develop guys that can come in and be an antagonist and talk for these guys. Because even if you're a babyface, you're coming into a company that's not your own. You are kind of the antagonist. And even if you're the good guy, it's the effort that's not being made that's screaming volumes. And you want me. Here's the part: you don't want me to steal it. And I'm a big believer. You buy your porn, you buy the album, you buy the movie. I only go to illegally streaming something or downloading it when there's literally all other. Like, I finally got a copy of Dawn of the Dead, which you can't get. I finally managed to get a really good DVD copy of it, but it took years. And, because I want, again, being an artist, I pay for my shit. I want people to pay for my shit. And you got to make people want it, and you got to make it available. And, like, again, asking for $50 and then giving me a subpar thing, it's like, it's not. yeah, I think it hurted a lot. And I mean, I'll keep scouring YouTube. I might get lucky, but it's, I'll see what I can see. But you know what? If Orange Cassidy was able to step it up and shock everybody, good for
Yeah, he
him.
did.
But my question to him is, okay,
What's next?
well, yeah, again, you're not even wearing real jeans anymore. And I'm sorry, the gimmick in and of itself, he pulls off the jeans and the jean jacket and the glasses. I have a weird face. It's hard for me to wear sunglasses. I look like a baby. Like I got a big face. So it's like, it's just, I can't, I'm jealous of people that can wear aviators and look good. He's a good looking guy, but it's gotten to the point where you're like, it literally stands out. You got the big drawstring. You look ridiculous. But at the same time, it's gone as far as it's going to go. You're going to, I don't know, man. Like, again, you know better than I do. You got to switch it up. Roman Reigns won me over. After trashing Roman Reigns for years, he won me over.
And it took him being a heel to get that.
I'm not
which
saying
is something
that,
supposed to be
Orange
did a
Cassidy,
long time ago.
I'm not saying Orange Cassidy can't win me over, but you are going to need, I'm going to need you to do something. Because if you go, because here's the best part. Now I have a bigger grudge against you, because if I see this and you do, I do go, son of a bitch, motherfucker, prove me wrong. And then next week you're back out there standing on the sidelines with Trent's wrestling, and you're doing the whole, the hands up, or you're jumping off the apron, striking a pose. I'm like, oh, well, you're just half-assing it, and now you're in an environment where you develop a cult of personality where they're going to let you get away with it. And that's not good for you, because the longer you sit in a comfort zone or in a cult of personality, the more your art's going to suffer, and the more your skin is going to get thin, and you're not going to be able to handle it. When I was doing comedy, I worked with a comic named Cameron Esposito. When she started, a very lovely girl, very sweet. And then she blew up, and she got real egotistical and real fake, real quick, and real up her own ass, because she has this cult following. And she released an album. And I'm sorry. And here's the thing: I haven't heard her comedy in years. Her comedy was really not that good. It's basically, just I'm a lesbian and you wacky. I'm sure I'm freaking your minds out, you weird straight people, and I'm just a wacky lesbian and you're straight and you don't have any exposure, And she was performing at the time most of the Midwestern audiences, which may be some truth to that. But she put out an album, and it basically was like, I'm a lesbian and we do all this stuff, and you'd be shocked that we go to the store, we eat cheese, and we wear hats. And people basically were trashing the album online because it wasn't good. It wasn't good. And they were pointing out the fact. It was like, keep talking about this. And then she posted a thing. I remember seeing it as clear as day, because she, I don't know, like a week before, had been said a really snarky thing to me after I've always been nice to her. And I was like, all right, asshole. She said, like, okay, guys, can you have one critique or review of my comedy album that's not about me being lesbian? And it's like, no, Cameron, because your entire fucking record is about you being a lesbian and you and your lesbian girlfriend. That's all there is. There's nothing else to critique. I have not heard her comedy in years. As far as I know, she's still killing it and doing well. So who knows? Comics evolve, and they improve or they die. So I don't know what she's doing now, but that's kind of a perfect example. Like, you're now in Cameron Esposito kind of fate. If you don't make a switch, you're gonna get, eventually I could see him getting pouty and mad. They're like, oh, the people just want me to put, like, I can wrestle. All they want me to do is put my hands in my pockets. Like, motherfucker, that's all you do. That's all you do.
So,
you're a musician, you're a podcaster, you're a former actor. You can go back to acting. You're not just one thing. It's like, like, if you're gonna show me something, motherfucker, then you need to give it to me all the time.
Yeah. So let's get to this main show. All right. The first match was the winner gets the advantage at the Blood and Guts. We had Chris Jericho, Sammy Guevara, and Minoru Suzuki versus Eddie Kingston, Wheeler Yuta, and Shota Umino, who happened to be the son of the great New Japan referee Red Shoes. And of course, no surprise there, Chris Jericho and the people won, because of course we all know that any War Games type match or cage match where it's multi-team, the heel normally gets the advantage. So there's no surprise there. Very good match. I did see, like I said, the highlight of Minoru Suzuki and Eddie Kingston going back and forth. No bullshit. This was an actual straight up good wrestling match and everything. And this was to lead into the Blood and Guts match, which I think supposed to be coming this week, ain't it?
Yeah.
And everything. And then, of course, later on, Jericho threw a fireball into the face of Shota. So,
because he's a fairy,
yeah, I'm the wizard.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
I'm the wizard.
Why don't you whizzle around these nuts, you fucking right wing jerk off?
So, but like I said, I mean, that was a very good match. And then next up, because there ain't really much to talk about that. I mean, because it's more about the Blood and Guts matches coming up than anything else in that match. But the match that me and you discussed the most was the winner takes all match for both the Ring of Honor as well as the New Japan Tag Titles. Is Jeff Cobb and Okan from the Empire took on FTR versus Roppongi Vice. Once again, great three-way match. Roppongi Vice made up for the question of why the fuck they in this match. Damn it, they needed to be in this match. It made a great match.
Well,
FTR.
who took the pinfall? Who took the?
I'm about to tell you now. Rocky Romero took the pinfall, which is no surprise.
I knew it. That's why. I knew it. I knew.
And see,
that
was going to happen. Either Beretta or him was going to take the loss, because they want to develop Okan and your boy against FTR for the next match, especially when they go over to Japan. Of course,
the thing that pisses me off. I think they could have a great tag match, and Japan's gonna get it, and we're not. It's like we get the fucking three-way.
Yeah, because but now FTR has the AAA title, the Ring of Honor title, as well as now New Japan. So hands down, they're going with them being the belt collectors for tag team wrestling. And I'm pretty sure at some point, because I think what's the next big pay-per-view coming up? Because we'll get to the match later on with the AEW Tag Champion Young Bucks. I really hope that it's the Young Bucks versus FTR for the AEW tag titles at some point, and FTR get those tag titles back.
Well, it would have to be that way, because I think same thing with like we were talking about at the beginning of the show with Roe versus Wade. I think people will accept them as two-time AEW tag champs. I don't think with FTR, as much as they're killing it right now, if they beat FTR and take all the belts, it's gonna put them literally in go-away heat. It's gonna have a Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Hulk Hogan type vibe to it, and it's better for them to lose, because eventually, look, you're going to get those AEW tag belts back. Eventually, Ring of Honor's having a pay-per-view in July, or some kind of show in July. So eventually, FTR is going to go to Ring of Honor. And also, I think it would just help their reputation. And there's no shame in losing to FTR. It's like, I really believe it would. You need to now. Again,
but to me, I think until that match is made, keep them away from each other.
And here's the other thing, too. Japan has a unique way of doing their belts. Just because FTR won them, even the Steiners didn't have a ridiculously long run. And they were over huge in Japan. So, they might hold the belts long enough for a few weeks and then probably drop them back in Japan. Because, so I wouldn't look for FTR to hold on to even like the Briscoes, the Steiners.
They didn't have the belts long.
Like Vader and Bigelow and like a lot of really big. It's very rare. You have to be a really big star to have like a really, like I think the last really long tag team run, I could be wrong, was Bad Intentions with Carl Anderson and Bernard. And that was like a 2-year reign.
You know what I'm saying? When you think about the people that come in from other promotions just to come in, they have the belt maybe for like a month or maybe 2 months at best, enough to where they can come over here with the belt and show that they the IGP champ.
Yeah, and here's the other thing: like, you can win the Noah World Heavyweight title and be champion for 6 months and only defend it twice or 3 times. They don't put it on every show. So if you go on Wikipedia and look at like the title history with Japanese titles, they'll tell you how many times, the date they won it, how many times they won it, and then how many days, and then he made 3 defenses, he made 7 defenses. Like, so it's rare when they have really long, like. The Intercontinental title before they combined it to make the world title. Shinsuke made that title, and he had kind of short reigns, but he made that title. Kenta Kobashi had, I believe, a 2-year run. Okada is known for having long runs, but that is and except Bad Intentions, that's the exception to the rule. Usually, even with Japanese stars, it's like, and sometimes they'll win the belt, and then like they'll win it in April, then in July, August, they'll defend it for the first time and then lose it. And they never technically have a successful defense. It's very unique how Japanese wrestlers or Japanese organizations do their titles. And I think it's, even though they are getting into the American habit of having a fucking belt for everybody, like the guy who unloads a truck has a belt. The belts mean more because, in a sense of, it's like in an actual, in MMA, it's you can win the title, but can you defend the title? It's very hard. So it goes back to that North Carolina, like they have the ability to book in a way where 2 wrestlers can switch the belt a lot back and forth, and it actually aids the belt.
Sense. Yeah.
The way Japanese people do their titles, it works for them. It's all about style and presentation. So I would not expect, I would like to, I mean, I don't know. I like the idea of FTR having all 4 belts, but the thing is, it becomes an albatross. So depends on how they're going to book it. If they're going to have them win the AEW titles anytime soon, then maybe keep it on them for a minute. Otherwise, just, have them do the favor back in Japan. And again, the way they do the belts, it wouldn't be a surprise, and it wouldn't hurt FTR.
Yeah.
To have a short reign.
It makes sense that they wanted here to at least say they didn't have the the IWGP tag titles, heavyweight tag titles, so we can clarify. And it legitimizes them even more as a tag team now. Period. So with that, let's move on to the next match.
I need to get an FTR shirt. I really like their shirt, the way they,
Dude, man, I swear, it's just like, God, what I wouldn't give a damn. Or that with their manager. Jesus.
Actually, you know what I was thinking? Because I'm thinking about I have business cards made. I've had stickers made for Exotica. I'm thinking about having. That's one of the things I got to do today after the podcast. I'm going to reach out to this company. I'm thinking about having a T-shirt made just for me to walk around Exotica. And I was thinking, like, merch for the show, at least for us, would be, and I'm kind of thinking of ways to get the podcast out there and market it. And one of the things is I need to come see you after Exotica. Exotica is going to be expensive, but I think it's going to be worth it. I'm gonna make some money at Exotica, so I need to take a road trip to come see you, and we need to get some pictures together because I have some ideas for promotional material, but also because there's also like I have some ideas for pictures that I can convert into cartoons that I think would be really good merch. It's just we need to get together and be in the same room, plus I think doing a couple of podcasts in the same room together would have a very good energy. And honestly, if I start making really good money, if this, I'm shooting for a company. I guess I could say it here because we're not as, you have to be a wrestling fan in order to hear this, but I'm shooting for my first really big company. I've shot for other people before, but this is my biggest company yet in Exotica. I'm shooting for Blush Erotica. And and it's a big deal. And I'm kind of now, I auditioned for them at Chicago, and now I'm kind of I'm going to be part of their roster for male talent. And this is my debut, and I'm shooting a bunch of stuff for them, more than one scene for them while I'm in Exotica. And I'm going to be leaving with some money, which is going to be nice, but I'm hoping I'm going to promote the shit out of it, and hopefully I'm going to be leaving with some money, and hopefully it'll open the door because I'm on the radar for some other big companies that haven't quite pulled the trigger on me. So I'm hoping, but if this does go the way I hope it does, I have no problem at least once or twice a month driving to North Carolina all the way over there and, doing, like shows and maybe even doing a special like Patreon show, like a third show if we're in the same room. And because if I'm making the extra money, it's not that expensive just to get in the car and drive and, and what have you, and go down to North Carolina. But I shot myself in the foot because I wanted to start promoting it now. And I did an interview with Paisley Hayes, who her and I are becoming really good friends. And
she's a sweetheart. Shouts out to my baby girl.
And I wanted to show, I'm trying to again, I'm starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm trying to get my shit in shape. I'm trying to start, whatever. I'm trying to really up my game. I'm pushing myself very hard. And I'm going to go on to this popular podcast with this popular talent with a big announcement. And I made the big announcement. And then I'm like, when's the show coming out? And she's like, in July. And I'm like, fuck. Shit. Son of a bitch. You learn things, people. You learn things as you go on. Like I am starting to, I'm not a big deal, but I'm starting to become a slightly vaguely bigger deal. And you learn things. Next time I have a big announcement and for an interview, ask them when they're going to release it. Because I could say it here because it's a wrestling podcast. It's knee deep in a multi-hour podcast. But she told me the beginning of July. And I'm like, okay, I really want to hype. One, I really want to help. I want to bring something to Blush's brand. I really want to help them expand and make it more popular and really, because they're really awesome people to work for. So I really want to show up like a young Brando kicking in the door, going big. And I really also, just for my own personal thing, I want to go in and hype it big. So I have a lot of buzz on top of everything. And unlike, just like you girls, I have a paid shoot that I'm doing. I'm working for a company, yada, yada, yada. And I got to wait. I was like, okay, I need to talk to Paige. I'm like, look, I'm going to give you till July 4th. And then I got to start, or July 3rd, I got to start promoting it. Because it's my fault. I should have asked, but I didn't want to. Because I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna paint my fucking Twitter and my Instagram with it. I'm the whole thing. But I promised her a big announcement, so it's like, all right. She said the first week of July. And I'm like, okay, look, you got to give me a specific date because I need to fucking. I gotta, I need to really promote this and shit. You're already popular and people love you. I need to get more popular. So. Yeah.
Most definitely. So like we were saying, the next matchup was speaking about title belts. The All Atlantic title belt was online.
I didn't agree with the finish of this. I thought Miro should have won it.
It blew my mind, but I'm not mad that Pac won. It was Miro, Pac. God damn it. Tommy N, we know him as Malachi Black. Okay, I had to get his name right. And one of the young lions, Clark Connors, who I have watched because I do keep up with New Japan, and he took the pin. He's a damn good wrestler. I'm not even going front. Actually, he won the fans over by the end of the match. And I have no issue with Pac being champ. Actuality, and the fact that Connor took the loss, we have two built-in contenders and feuds for Pac when it comes to that title, because he already has beef with Malachi Black and then also adding Miro. So I'm curious of which one they're going to go with after this. But I like Pac as champ. I liked him when he was the Dragon Gate champion.
I mean, I like Pac, and it'd be interesting to see a feud with Miro and Pac. I was just, Miro just came back. He's doing this whole Redeemer thing. I mean, again, I really appreciate when somebody does something unique, like The Fiend. People may not like The Fiend, but Bray Wyatt pulled it off, and only he could do it. When you're talking about, when you're bitching about God making your neck weak, and you got choked out, and now you're angry at God, and you're having full on conversations with God, and you're being angry, and you're this, that, and the other thing. And it's the guy's, again, we always talk about this. The guy has been upping his game since he got on the mainstream. Like, he looks completely different body wise than he did when he first started wrestling in the WWE. His look is now has only improved. His skill set, everything, his promo, the whole Redeemer thing. It's like no one. It's a very unique thing that would fall flat if anybody else did it, and I want more of it. And I think Pac doing the bastard thing.
Yeah.
And here's the thing: when he did the bastard thing, I'm like, oh god, he's doing a Game of Thrones things. But he has made it his own. And again, to his credit,
Yes.
he made it his own so much that I actually forget a lot of the times now that that's where he got it from. So you have very two unique talents. I'm like, okay, I don't agree with the win, but at the same time, if they're going to do a feud with these two, please, lots of promos, and again, Tony, like, let it stretch out, let these guys spread their wings, because you got some amazing creative people. I don't want it in short bursts. I like, I want to be able to stretch my legs. I want to, enjoy this. So, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see where they go with this. Next up is a 6-man tag, which would have been a 4-way tag, but because of I can't think of his name. One of the guys was actually hurt last minute and couldn't come over. It's the Young Bucks and El Phantasmo versus the dudes with attitude, which is Sting and Darby, and Shingo Takagi. And Shingo Takagi is a former IGP heavyweight champion. And of course, Sting, the dudes with attitude, gets the victory, which I think, who took the pin? El Phantasmo took the pin. Which I'm curious, is we going to see a feud between the Bucks and the dudes with attitude for the AEW title? I hope not, but go ahead.
No, just the thing with the name, it was cheesy in the 90s. I mean, I get they're trying to be nostalgic, but it's like, let's not call them that. I mean, it's not retro in the right way.
Mm-hmm. But see, I'm going to tell you what I loved about this match. My favorite part of the match. Okay, first of all, let's give credit where credit due. Sting is a beast at 60.
Well, that's it. I was just thinking that.
He's a beast at 60, yo. When I think about the guys that wrestle into their 60s, Sting is in my top 5, dog. He's up there with the Terry Funk. He up there with Les Thatcher and all that shit, because it was like he was rolling with these motherfuckers. And then he no-sailed the double super kick with the Young Bucks. Thank you. Because I get sick and tired when they do that shit. And it be like a big dude they do it to, and the guy sells it. This was the first time I ever saw the no sell of that. He just fell back and looked dead at him and clotheslined him. I love that. I loved it.
I've been thinking about Sting, and again, the pairing with Darby Allin has been good to okay.
Yeah,
I think Darby Allin, they really need to put the rocket back up his ass, because again, this guy, I think his star has cooled a little bit, and I think they need to reheat him up, because the upside to him is huge. With Sting,
but they ain't got him in no great solo feuds, and he needs a feud that don't involve Sting.
Well, and here's the thing with Sting, because I've been watching Sting, and he does look great for 60, and he could still go and everything else, because his work style was never crazy, but also he's modified it. Since it wasn't crazy, he's managed to modify it in a way with psychology and presence and charisma, but also, again, a clean living style. It doesn't really look like he's lost a beat, because he's been able to stay within the realm of being Sting. I think Sting could be used better if you separate him from Darby Allin and put him in a Terry Funk role, where you have him in feuds with younger guys that you're trying to build up and get over. And Sting has been around long enough and good enough that, because here's the thing, in the 90s, Terry Funk was the Harvey Keitel of wrestling. He wrestled all, like, Smoky Mountain, ECW, WWE, WCW, FMW. I mean, you name it. He was there. He was always important. He always drew attention, and he worked with every young future. Like the '90s, basically, like the Attitude Era and everything else happened because Terry Funk was out there in his 50s, like wrestling for and doing this shit with Sabu and Tommy Dreamer and all these guys. Put Sting in that position, and Terry Funk lost majority of those matches, and it never fucking mattered. Sting could go out there and make stars of all the guys, the young guys you got, and he could do it the Sting way, and you can have him lay on his back every night. It won't make a fucking difference. And since they're only wrestling on TV and pay-per-views, like I think Sting could be the modern. I thought it was going to be Jericho, but Jericho's still a little bit too much about himself, and his stuff is getting too weird and ridiculous, and to me is too inconsistent. I think Sting could really step up and be that Terry Funk and make a lot of young guys that Tony Khan, I mean, you're missing the boat on some of these kids, and you're about to lose MJF if everything is to be true. You need to, get in there with Sting and give him that Stardust, and or actually even Dustin. They're not using Dustin. Dustin could do that. Dustin also is another one. Dustin's another one that, like, motherfucker, you're 21 years old again. You look better than you did when you were 21, actually. He's a better looking guy now.
A better wrestler, actually.
Yeah. So have him go out there, and he takes a real man in good shape to wear that full body leotard and not make it look ridiculous. Like Dustin is killing it. And every time I see him wrestle, I'm like, maybe it's not what he wants, but I'm like, you got two guys who could be your Terry Funk, and they could do it two different ways. And ironically, you could probably use them at the same time. Why aren't you?
Yeah.
Why aren't you?
So, which we need to get to is the AEW Women's title match where Thunder Rosa wins against Toni Storm. 10-minute match. Thunder Rosa retains the title. Damn good match for 10 minutes. The conversation here is one. I don't want to see Toni Storm be in the Ruby Soho situation where she can't win the big one type situation. And two, Thunder Rosa's title reign, to me, it feels like they do a terrible job with face champions. And I was listening to another, podcast that was talking about this, because if you look at the strongest title reigns, it was when everybody was a heel. Moxley was not a good, clean face, good guy. You feel what I'm coming from compared to that of Paige. And he had a great run. We talked about Jericho's run. Damn good run for the first title run. He was a heel. They switched Kenny Omega heel. He had a great title run. Of course, like I said, Moxley. Here, it's crazy how the best title run out of the women's division was either Britt Baker, which actually was really with Britt Baker. I would say Riho had a good title run because they did keep the belt on her a long time, and she had good matches with the people that she had. And don't get it twisted, Thunder Rosa has good matches, but the build-up kind of kills the momentum from the matches and the feuds they have put it in the way they ran the feuds. It's not the issue is not the matches, because the same thing we talked about with Adam Page. It's not the matches, it's the way that you built up that champion.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, in the Southern style, it was always the story was in the chase, and the champion and Southern babyface champions didn't really have long runs. In the Northeast, they did the babyface thing where it was an ethnic champion. But usually in wrestling, it depends on the territory, and also it depends on the talent. But usually it's the chase, not the capture. Like Ric Flair, go to territory, and honestly, the model worked better because you had your top babyface going against the heel champion. Even Briscoe and Dory would kind of alter their style depending on who they would wrestle. in a very slight way. Like the Briscoes were experts at that, where they were good, clean cut baby faces. But then, especially when they were in the later year of their career, when they were doing the tag feud with Youngblood and Steamboat, they were heels, but they didn't blatantly. They were just kind of really cocky and arrogant, because it was like a Mayweather thing, where it's like, I'm gonna wear pink gloves, I'm gonna kick your ass, and I'm gonna drop you in the 4th round, and he would do it. And the Briscoes were so apparently such amazing shooters that even when into old age, they could take you down and whoop your ass. So they were just very cocky and arrogant, and kind of like, all shucks, and you're no real challenge to me. And they did heels their way. And again, it comes down to, like, the athleticism is good. It's, and a good athletic all Japan style match is good, but especially for an American audience, you need that personal issue. You need that drama. You need somebody.
They don't give her with a feud. Like, to me, for example, they should have kept her and Dee wrestling. They should have built on that feud, because one, they had great matches. They had great chemistry as a feud. Two, I don't know why they didn't keep up with the feud between her and Britt Baker.
Well, again, it's Tony's obsession with not having return matches, which I really don't understand. And here's the thing, and I've been meaning to make this point on the podcast. I'm not going to try to go off on a tangent for too long, but when Dusty Rhodes died, I kind of cried. When Roddy Piper died, I shed a tear. I didn't shed a tear when my own father died. Like, I barely missed a beat. And the reason why, people feel emotional when just Bobby Eaton. I got to meet Bobby Eaton just for one day, and just for a minute, and we talked football, and he was such an ingratiating guy and so nice. And I spent years being a fan of just watching his stuff. When he died, it genuinely bothered me. Like, it took months for me to be able to watch a Midnight Express match. Like, it genuinely bothered me, and I can only imagine what people who actually knew him in real life must have gone through. Yeah. And the thing is, these guys, the Ricky Mortons, the Dusty Rhodeses, even the Hulk Hogan's, the Ric Flairs, they, through their feuds, through their ability to do a promo, to project this image and this thing, especially with the baby faces, like, we root for you, we're fighting for the underdog, you're fighting from underneath. They moved people, and especially with the younger fans, they created memories. They became part of these wrestlers' lives. Like, I have a fondness for, if I ever meet Ricky Morton, I'm going to be probably a little emotional, because I grew up with Ricky Morton. And Ricky Morton is a guy I've never met. He's a wrestler, but he is somebody who's been a part of my life and has affected my life, and, had an effect, and it has many good memories. And when he's gone, it's going to be very upsetting. And the wrestlers today, whether they don't try or not allowed to try, aren't generating that level of feeling. It's gotten to the point where, like Omega, I like Omega. I watched him before he became the it thing. He's been off TV, and I haven't noticed. Like, a lot of guys, when they're gone, they're just okay. Cesario, I like Cesario. Cesario is a good wrestler, and it's dumb that he's not been a world champion and a top guy yet. But if he stopped wrestling tomorrow, like, that's why the psychology and the storylines and the personal issues and these kind of things, it adds that sense that makes the jumping off the top rope, the blood, the delivering a special move or a really interesting finish. That's the salt in the stew. That's what adds the flavor. That's what attaches people to a wrestler. That's how they become iconic, and it's missing. And for the sake of, like, more super kicks and more high spots and whatever. So
So the next match, we already kind of talked about it. We just didn't talk about the ending per se. Was Will Ospreay versus Orange Cassidy, great match. And at the end of it, of course, the Empire attacked everybody, and Shibata comes out and makes the save. Now, some of you people know who Shibata is. Go Google that motherfucker and watch this man's matches. He had left the business because he did a headbutt, which damaged his skull. And now they're looking for him to make a comeback. And he came out, he did his thing. or what have you. And of course, him and Orange Cassidy had a wonderful moment at the end of it. And like I said, I enjoyed it. With Shibata coming out, man, I was like, oh, snap, I got to see this. I can't wait to see him come back because that dude was a beast and everything. So but that was a good match. So we're going to skip past that and move to, which you already mentioned the man's name. No longer Cesaro. No. Claudio Castagnoli made his AEW debut going against Zack Sabre Jr. Very good technical sound match with Claudio getting the victory. And everyone kept saying it was going to be him. No surprise there, no shock. It still was a big pop.
Actually, I was shocked. I wasn't, because he's been off the radar. I didn't think it would be. I never put a thought that it would be him.
Oh no! Let me tell you the reason why I knew it was going to be him. Danielson been talking about Cesaro, and as soon as he was released, I'm pretty sure that he said it went to Tony Khan's office and said, "Look, I don't give a fuck how much money you got to pull out your ass. You need to get that man." And I totally agree. Because he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He never got the run that he should have gotten in WWE. He should have been champion twice, in my opinion. Especially when he ended up becoming the Swiss Cyborg and he was wearing the suits. Oh my God. I mean, look at him, you know.
Oh, no, yeah. How, like I said, that's when I really realized Vince had started to lose it. Because how do you look at this guy? And I've seen him with hair. He's one of these guys that actually looks better without hair.
Yeah.
Even if they cured baldness tomorrow, I would be like, dude, keep shaving your head.
Yeah.
He looks like $1 million. He looks like James Bond was in a suit. It's like how you, and here's the best part. If he's a babyface, the kind of the unique accent is kind of akin to the Dusty Rhodes isms and the lisp, and it could be, he could have fun with it. I would just tell him, go out and have fun with it. Like Dusty would just make up words and people like, yeah, what he said, that's a word. Whereas if he's a heel, then you get a manager to talk shit, and he just stands there and looks gorgeous. Because, I mean, we're comfortable men. The dude's fucking gorgeous. If he came in on the bar in a suit and started hitting on me, I'd be like, no. I think no. I think. I mean, do I have a time limit on the offer? Like what?
Oh God! But that match was banging, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna be added to the Blood and Guts match, obviously. And I'm sorry, I would love to see him at some point. I'm pretty darn sure he will be the All-Atlantic champion at some point.
Well, it's a shame that they're putting him in the black. The only downside to putting him in the Blackpool Fight Club is that there's your answer for who's going to be the world champion.
Yeah.
Or who knows? Maybe it'll be a short-lived thing, but you could put the belt on him, and then he has history with Kingston. He has history with all these guys. There's all kinds of fresh matches, and then when Punk comes back, there you go. You have Punk win. If you don't lose MJF, again, But hey, who knows? Who knows?
Yeah. So the next match was for the New Japan World Title. Is Jay White versus Okada versus Page versus Cole. Of course, Jay White retained. Very good four-way match. Damn good four-way match for what I understand and the little highlights that I saw. And the interesting part is, once again, the injury bug done picked up. Adam Cole supposedly, allegedly suffered a concussion because the ending of the match was, wait, I'm about to read it real quick. Hold on. This damn stupid ass, slow ass computer. Cole super kicks Page. White sneaks in and hit the Blade Runner on Page, but then he abruptly pins Cole. Which I think probably what was going to happen was Page Posey took the loss, but I think they've changed last minute or on the fly due to the concussion for Cole to take the pin, which in my opinion I actually like that Cole took the pin. The reason why, because one, the longest storyline of Bullet Club versus the Elite, because I know at some point Omega is coming back. And he had a lot to say about both Ospreay as well as White, more so Ospreay than White. But like I said, I have no issue with Cole taking the loss. I'm not surprised that Jay White retained and Okada didn't take a pin. You know.
And here's the thing with Ospreay, and I kind of again, saw him from the beginning when he started wrestling for New Japan. Very lean guy, did the cruiserweight thing, and then beefed up. And in the beginning of him beefing up, I think he did it too fast, and he was injured. You can go from lean to big too quick, and you can actually cause yourself injury. But he rallied around it, and this is a guy who's always working and improving. And when you see Ospreay come out, even if you don't know who Ospreay was before he came to AEW, when he walks out in that code and that look, it's a star. This is a guy who is like, he could have stayed junior heavyweight and kind of had a nice little spot in Japan and blah, blah, blah. This is a guy that's like, no. I'm gonna switch it up. And he added the weight and, kind of changed his style and kept, the gear and the image and the empire and all this other stuff. And again, it's that thing of like, okay, I'm successful now, but I want more. And it's putting in the work and changing. Same thing with Miro. It's like they're evolving and there's a star and there's again, you bring this guy into any company, automatic top guy. Whereas like Ricochet was all the hot deal. And I like Ricochet, but Ricochet looks the same, which is not a bad thing. I wish I was I would love to be Ricochet on an ugly day, but there's a guy who his style is still the same, and he's kind of fallen off the map. Like he's kind of lost importance. Where
I think that's went to WWE, but we'll discuss that on another day. I don't want to get too deep into them.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like it's one of those things where you kind of you're able to cut your own path, or he went a different route and it's not working out for him. But go on.
Yeah, but Jay White, I remember watching him from the time when he first was in Ring of Honor, and man, the evolution of Jay White is amazing. He has really came on, and I can see why New Japan got the belt on him. I can see why they say he's a catalyst, because he gives a great promo and he gives great matches and he looks the part.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that he continued to hold the belt. I'm pretty sure him and Okada, which is that I think that's the hot feud moving forward for Jay White. I'm curious to see what happens with that. So the last and final match, the main event, Hiroshi Tanahashi versus Jon Moxley. Of course, Jon Moxley had to give us some blood. And it was a good match, of course, because look who it is, the ace of New Japan versus Jon Moxley. And the match ended with Jon Moxley winning the title, which would now be his second reign. And he's the only guy that has now won the AEW title twice. The match was great. I just hated the afterbirth. Of course, Jericho comes down and attack. Blackpool and everybody else come down and attack. And of course, Claudio Castagnoli comes out and clean house. Which I didn't think they needed the afterbirth, to be honest with you. But I get why they're doing it to set up Blood and Guts, which I think is supposed to be this coming Wednesday. But like I said, on the whole, the pay-per-view, I liked it. For what I've read, for what I've seen. Kind of hate that I missed it. I know they're talking about doing a part 2 at some point and doing a part 2, well, a second one. Which I hopefully the injury bug does not fuck with this one for the match that we probably could have gotten if the injury bug didn't hit. And I'm curious to see what AEW is doing moving forward. New Japan, we already know what's going to happen with that. With the All Elite, also the AEW tag titles and everything else. So on the whole, Seemed like it was a damn good pay-per-view to me.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I gave my opinion on like the card turned me off, and I mean, a lot of people are loving it. It's been universally praised. I'll try to see what I can see of it, but I mean, it's just I don't know. Like again, the build was terrible, and I'm tired of. Again, this is why MJF and Miro and whatnot are like the standout stars for me. It's like no more enough with the tables, enough with multi-man matches, enough with ladders, enough with waiting for your music to hit when you run out. I mean, to me, it jumped the shark, but I'm hoping that it was the real big shark that got jumped when Hardy came out and did that fucking lame white guy dance. As his brother's getting kicked, I'm like, okay, can we stop with the music now? And, just have, I miss the slow realization of the crowd as, and the reaction of the wrestlers when they start to hear the reaction of the crowd and somebody's coming down the ringside. To me, that's better. People have become too reliant on that pop when the music hits. And maybe that should be saved for like a wrestler if they have the right music, but that's another thing. But I mean, I'm going to check it out. I've been kind of scouring. I was trying, maybe give it a day or two. Sometimes you could, they'll have a match where you could sneak something, but again, $50, that's the thing. $50, it's really more important. The WWE could just throw together whatever they want because you're paying $10 a month. And you can see it when you get around to it. If you're gonna be charging $50, you really gotta make every match big. You gotta bring back that old school thing of promoting. It's even if I'm making killer money in a couple of months, even if I'm making $5,000 a month, $50 is $50 the old saying. Have you ever seen $50 worth of ham and eggs on a plate?
So true. So now, before we move on to the old school, the match that I want to talk about a little bit of mention MLW. They had a very, very good main event recently, with Mods Kruger versus Jacob Fatu, and what the fuck? If you spent money, okay, Tony Khan, you spent money to get Thunder Rosa out of her contract with NWA. Why don't you spend money and get that big Samoan motherfucker on AEW? I'm sorry, that match was fucking stellar. Probably one of the best hardcore matches I've been seen. I like Mods Kruger. I'm very surprised ain't nobody came and grabbed his ass over the MLW, and also I know their Battle Riot has recently happened, which I'm about to get some spoiler alerts. We have a new national openweight champion, aka my man, the one and only, the American Wolf, David Richards, which I'm glad because I'm sorry, Alex Zane. I was not feeling him as the national heavyweight champion. I barely feel him as a fucking wrestler. Period. The Richard Holiday lost his bid for the world title as he lost to Hammerstone, and Killer Cross made his return to MLW, which I have a feeling that's the guy that's going to take the belt off of Hammerstone.
Who? Sorry, who was it?
Killer Cross.
Oh, yeah. No, I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah, as well as Scarlett Bordeaux is now wrestling in MLW. She won her first preview, her first match. So I'm curious to see what happens with that. I have nothing to talk about on the pond. I did happen to watch ICW. Nothing really eventful. The only thing I'm looking forward to is the King of Insanity match between BT Gunn and the Iron Captain. Damn, I forgot his fucking name. Leighton Buzzard. That's going to be a good match. And as well as Jack Jester and their champion Cass Evans, which I love that they call Jack Jester the devil's favorite dirty.
I love it. your favorite, or the answer to the question about, well, the WWE won't touch Fatu because I guess he had a little bit of a record, which is ironic considering the WWE.
Yeah.
But here's the problem. Again, Impact is obviously on the slow rise. They've been doing a slow build, but again, being on, what is it, Dish or whatever it is, it's like the stuff is like the only time I ever see at Impact is like if I'm in a hotel room and they have like a certain and that's what they have. It kind of limits them. I think if they got bought and put on, I don't know, fucking Discovery or something, they would get more eyes on them. The thing with MLW has lost a lot of steam. I kind of have to get back in the habit. When they started doing the Contra thing, that's when they really got my interest. And then they started doing the NWO thing where they were adding everybody. And also I didn't like what they were doing with Hammerstone. And I found some of the moves they were making as far as production, like very bad. But it's obviously, I guess, I've heard some weird stories about some of their business dealings, but obviously they pay. Yeah. For Fatu, he's in a good spot there, and he's getting paid. By
the way, he won the Battle Riot, so we'll be expecting him at some point.
The thing with Fatu, I agree. But Tony, he's got more people than he knows what to do with, and he just signs people, and then he puts them on the shelf, and then they lose all value and heat. Like Ruby, fucking what's his name? Adam Cole. The booking so far has been kind of like, really. I think Tony needs to tighten up the 2 shows he's running, and then when Ring of Honor finally comes to a TV show, the show needs to be, wherever it lands, it needs to be 2 hours, because you just need the time and to move wrestlers over there. So it's just too easy to get lost in the mix. So it's either stay at MLW, get a good check, a better check, but possibly have to fucking lose to a shin kick or some bad gimmick on AEW television, or go overseas and wrestle in Japan and whatnot. And I don't know his life and if he has the will or want to do that. And I think if AEW can get Ring of Honor going and then have that like a Ring of Honor 2-hour show on HBO Max, then I could see going to MLW and going, hey, I have a bunch of wrestlers. I'll buy his contract and I'll sign over some wrestlers to you of equal or lesser value. Because I could see him in a Ring of Honor being a good opponent for Samoa Joe and some other guys in that Ring of Honor environment. I could also see him in Impact, but Impact is not going to make a big money purchase. They're going to wait for his contract to run out and offer him a deal. I don't know what Impact pays. I know that their wrestlers are allowed to wrestle for other companies, so I'm assuming probably a lot of money to me, but for wrestling money on TV, maybe not as other companies. So I could see him in Impact, but I would like to see him in the new Ring of Honor, and I would bring him in as a destroyer of worlds. I would bring him in as a big deal, maybe bring in the Sheik as well as his manager, because they're a good pairing, and just protect him, bring him in as a monster. And honestly, Joe is at the tail end of his career. It would hurt him not at all to get into a program with Fatu and do the job, and maybe, sake of argument, give him the TV title. Because it wouldn't hurt Joe, but it would mean, think about that match and Fatu winning clean and getting the TV title like that. That would be like must-see TV. Bring him in the Ring of Honor environment and putting him in with Joe. After squashing a bunch of guys, have Joe come in again. And actually, I was doing research on Pat Patterson for our thing that we're going to be doing, because we're going to be doing 2 parts of the Pride of LGBTQ wrestlers and thing. But there was a brilliant 4-match run at Madison Square Garden between him and Backlund, and the way they did it. And you can do the same thing with Joe and Fatu, where Fatu eventually comes out at the end, and again, it would protect Joe, and it would make a bigger star out of a guy who's already a star. So
yeah,
that's some of my dream booking. That now that you put that in my head, that's actually what I would like to see.
Yeah, because I can see, I would love to see him in Ring of Honor at some point, even the Ring of Honor champion. So now it's interesting that he mentioned Pat Patterson. basically he just did a great segue into the old school. Dun, 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 dun.
I need to actually. That reminds me. I need to send you the clip of that song.
Yeah,
and possibly the intro to the old school. But yes, it's Pride Month. We had a kind of a rocky month as far as putting out shows, so we're kind of catching it in on the tail end, and we're trying to keep the show today a little bit under the wire. So we're going to spread it out over 2 parts. But
yeah.
when you think, much like we covered women and black wrestlers in pro wrestling has had a history of LGBTQ performers adding to wrestling, and one of the best wrestlers ever, and one half of one of the best tag teams ever, and considered one of the best wrestling minds ever was Pat Patterson, who just happened to be openly gay, which such a brilliant
which I did
career.
not know.
So,
when you were telling me that, I said, "Wait a second, Pat Patterson was gay." I didn't know that.
yeah, no, openly gay. And I kind of plowed through his book the last couple of days, called "Accepted." I highly recommend it. I will. I posted some matches of some of the stuff we're going to be covering, and I'll post some more. But he grew up in Montreal, Quebec, very poor. Your stereotypical gay kid, poor childhood, very kind of uptight father. Was a wrestling fan at an early age. Would walk miles to the auditorium to watch wrestling. Kind of Mick Foley style. Could make that extra mile to go see shows, and got into wrestling very young, and started his career in Montreal. And at a very young age, had to leave home because of the wrestling, but also because of his sexuality. His father was very unaccepting of it. And he started in 1958. He was 17 when he started wrestling. So, and he, wrestled for a few years in Quebec or Montreal, and which one day we're going to cover. Montreal has a very historic,
Yes, they do.
wrestling, and he moved to his first venture into the U.S. and his journey into wrestling was in Boston, of all places. And he spent probably a good 3 years wrestling, like about a year wrestling in Boston. And, it's kind of a culture shock. He didn't speak English, again, young kid in Boston in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
And it was a pivotal thing because it was his first, breaking into the American scene, but also what I kind of always knew, but really got a sense for reading the book.
Mm-hmm.
He met his life partner, Louis Dundero, and they were together, like 50 years, and it's probably one of the greater, sweeter love stories in wrestling, because since they were together, Louis and Pat have been by each other's sides all across the country and all throughout his long wrestling career. From Boston, he goes to the Pacific Northwest, gets a little bit more experience. He does some time in Texas and Oklahoma, again, being openly gay. And the thing with Pat, as he described, is he never had any issue with him being homosexual. He was
because that's interesting, because it's kind of like, think about it. He was a main eventer in a lot of places.
Yes.
From Portland to Canada and the whole nine, and him being openly gay, especially in that time frame, you would think that the promoters would have been a little bit prejudiced towards him. So do you think that part of the reason why he didn't get that type of treatment was because he was that big of a draw, and his ability to draw was bigger and more important than the fact that he was gay?
I think it was that he was always a good wrestler and he improved quickly and always got better. And he was a draw and he became a big draw pretty quickly. And it's like the Sheik. He was kind of like a draw from the beginning of his career, even before the gimmick solidified. And he was openly gay, but you got to think about the time period. He was like, people knew, but he was not overly effeminate. He didn't, when he talked about conquests or whatever, I think discussed it in a way, like when I talk about sex, I don't give dirty details and I don't give names. I talk about the situation around it, something funny that happened. And I think he didn't shove it in people's face and make people feel uncomfortable. Like, one thing we do forget in that we are in a very open time where, I have nieces and nephews, and if my 10-year-old niece came up to me and said, I'm a lesbian, I'd be like, great, awesome. That doesn't matter to me. I love you regardless. It's completely natural. And it's a different environment where I think the gays and the lesbians back then knew the way to handle their own environment and present themselves in a way that they could stomach. And, again, like people who were maybe a little bit more accepting and open-minded, went further. Whereas other people who maybe didn't quite get it, but at the same time, they were like, well, Pat's a good guy. And Pat's one of the boys and stuff like that. So, we sometimes get bogged down in these overly politically correct times where it's like, if you don't get this rah, like just out and out outcry of acceptance, it's considered like, no. It's like, look, sometimes a guy going, I don't care if you're gay, I just don't want you like, doing, handstands on my front lawn and assless chaps. Sometimes you got to take what you can get. And Pat knew how to navigate the world where he lived his life. And again, being of that time and being from Canada and Montreal and everything, I think he was just a man of his time. And he, just really wasn't overly flamboyant or, he never hit on the other wrestlers and everything. And it was
kind of crazy that for example, I'm surprised that WWE, especially in modern day, didn't never mention it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's kind of like that shows you the level of Vince Sr. and his tolerance and understanding.
Yeah.
You feel what I'm coming from?
Yeah, and also I think it's a thing of...
Because he put Intercontinental belt on this dude.
Yeah, the first Intercontinental Champion. Because, back when that belt meant something. And he was also the WWF North American Champion. I believe he won that title from Ted DiBiase, a very young Ted DiBiase. And here's the thing, with some people, like I was talking about with Cameron in the show, like that's basically her whole gimmick. That's her whole identity is I'm lesbian. Whereas, I think, again, another thing that's got lost, it's like, he was a great wrestler and a brilliant mind that happened to be gay. Just like when Colin Powell was talked about running for president, everyone was like, oh, he speaks so well and he's so polite. I'm like, he was a great military mind that happened to be black. It wasn't his whole identity. It was part of him, but it wasn't the thing. Like, he's here to advise the president. He's here to give military advice. He's here to kind of lead men. The fact that he's black at this moment is irrelevant. And I think it never really came up on WWE TV because it just wasn't like, people knew, but, he's Pat Patterson. He created the Royal Rumble. He gave these great finishes. It's like the fact that he going home to Louis is irrelevant. It's not his whole identity. And, but what you said earlier about having issues with promoters, he did actually, because in 1965, he moved to, I think probably was the golden era of his career in San Francisco, where Rorschach was the big promoter. And I have a book on Rorschach written by Rock Rims, and we are going to, in the future, they're very big, thick, dense books, but I have several books by Rock Rims on California wrestling, and also Rorschach's life. We'll be covering California wrestling and Rorschach in greater detail down the road later in the year. And he's also working on a Ray Stevens book, which I'm like, please, for the love of God, write faster.
Yes.
But, and we will definitely that would probably be a multi-show segment. But in 1965, he started wrestling for Roy Shire, and there was a famous story that, you know, he picked up Pat for the first time, and they're driving in the truck, and he's like, "I hear you're different," and Pat's like, "Different how?" Like, "I hear you're queer," and Pat's like, "Pat don't give." Pat had balls. I'm amazed he was able to wear pants. He had big ass balls of steel, and he's like, "Yeah," and you know, it basically Roy's like, "You look like shit. Go to the gym," you know, and Roy put up with Pat. I don't think he was very accepting. But Pat made him money for. I mean, he had a run from 1965 to 1977, where he was a babyface, he was a heel, and he was put together with Ray Stevens, who had been there, who had an even longer run. I believe he had a 12-year run in San Francisco, and they became the Blonde Bombers, and to this day, still considered by even. I mean, there's not. I don't think there's any actual footage of their matches, but from to this. Well, I'm sorry, I stand corrected. From the AWA, they reunited in the AWA, so there's those matches, but they're owned by the WWE. Good luck finding them. But they became what is the greatest tag team in wrestling history, and that's saying a lot. Seeing as a majority of their prime work is just lost to time, like the legend of just how great a worker Pat Patterson was, how great of a worker Ray Stevens was, and putting them together and being heels. Like the tag team is the stuff of legend. And in this run, Pat and Louie build an amazing life together. They had a home. Louie followed Pat as he did the entirety of his life without question, opened up a barbershop, and they built a good life to each other. They had a very nice home near downtown. Louie had his business. He always interacted with the boys. The boys loved Louie. Like, there's several stories in his book where the wrestlers, because again, he didn't broadcast it out there. If you asked him, he would admit it, but he didn't broadcast it out there. So when they discovered he was gay, it's like, well, who's the guy? And it'd be like Louie, and like Maurice, Mad Dog Vachon was like, I want to meet him. And there's this hilarious story where Louie, rightfully so, saw, you know, it's like, there he is. And Louie ran. So Maurice was like, fuck this, get in the car, and chased Louie down through the streets, and, you know, eventually cornered him, and it's like, get in the car, we're going drinking. And Maurice, and this happened several times, they talked to Louie, they hung out with him, they realized, hey, he's just a good human being, and that was it. Louie was one of the boys, and Louie, you know, was always loved backstage. He used to cut a lot of the wrestlers' hair. He was involved. For a brief period of time, he was actually Pat Patterson's manager for a brief period of time. And, you know, they had a really good life, and he was a huge star. And he wrestled some of the biggest stars of the era, you know, including, you know, Rocky Johnson, Peter Maivia, Andre the Giant. Like, you know, I mean, it was a who's who of wrestlers that went through that era. And, you know, and then after, what was it, like 7 or actually 11 years in San Francisco, he, you know, had a fallout with Roy Shire over money. And he went to Florida for about a year. That didn't really take. He wasn't a good, he was like actually booked as a booker with Johnny Valentine. That didn't quite stick. Wrestling, especially in Florida, was a very particular territory. Either you fit in or you didn't. And then he had his next big run in the AWA, where he reconnected with Pat Patterson, and they had about, I would say, about a solid year run as a tag team, AWA tag team champions. And like all things, you know, Pat was a star, and, you know, he was always good with his money, and he had a stable home life. And the thing was, Pat knew he was a star. And he wasn't like a prima donna, but it's like, look, I'm a moneymaker. Everybody loves me. Like, you know, throughout his career, again, such a good worker. It's such a draw. The fact that he was gay meant nothing. Okay. And I think, you know, wrestling gets a lot of bad press, but I think guys in the 50s and the 60s and the 70s, knowing a guy's openly gay and not only wanting to work with him, because that meant you're going to make money, but also, hey, I want to meet Louie. You better bring Louie around, you know, like we want to meet Louie, and hanging out, loving Louie. I think that's just something that, you know, commendable and should be, pointed out that these guys of that era accepted it.
Yeah, because I would think more people would have talked about it. Actually, I would think that somebody would do a documentary on Pat Patterson for the fact that he was gay. And he was openly gay.
Well,
and he had a successful wrestling career in an era where being openly gay was not cool.
He did the book. The book is very good. Like I said, I recommend it. But also, unfortunately, he's so tightly. I think the WWE did something on Pat Patterson because I remember. But the problem is being so tightly associated with the WWE. It would be very hard to do a good, because you're right, it would be a great pride documentary, and it honestly, I think a documentary just on gays and lesbians in wrestling and queer folk in wrestling and now trans would be a brilliant documentary. The problem is Pat Patterson is one of the most successful and the earliest, as far as to my knowledge. I have more research to do for next week's segment, but he's tight. He's too attached to the WWE, and the WWE is all about their narrative. Like, I honestly believe if one of the great biographers of the day could write a Vince McMahon biography, it would literally, I'm being dead serious when I say this, it would win the Pulitzer. But you would have to have somebody who's a brilliant biographer, and the WWE or the McMahon family having no say over the book in order to make it that good of a book. So you have to deal with the WWE, and they have been famous. They've been known to be very difficult. Even when third parties get involved, they want their narrative, and that's all they want. They don't care. And actually, ironically, after the run in AWA, he had a dispute with Vern. This was like in the very late 70s, early 80s, and this was, I think, the beginning sign that Vern was losing touch with the times and was too stuck in his ways, because Pat wouldn't have left the AWA. He went to Vern and said, "Look, now me and Pat are no longer a tag team. What do you got for me for the next 6 months to a year?" Because again, not a prima donna, not a guy who was going to hold you up for money, but he's like, "I want to know what I'm doing, and I better be up at the top of the card." And Vern wouldn't tell him what he had, and Pat was like, "Well, I have something on deck." And Vern was like, "Well, what is it?" I'm like, "If you're not going to tell me, I'm not going to tell you." And Vern, of course, being Vern, didn't like that. So Pat was like, "All right, if you're not going to tell me, then I'm going to go." And he did. And what he had on deck was going to the WWF. And that's where he had a very successful and tail end of his career. He was a North American champion. Then he won the Intercontinental champion in Rio de Janeiro. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I think probably the biggest highlights of his WWE in-ring career was he had a 4-run main event series with Bob Backlund, which at the time that never happened, and it hasn't happened since. You had like 3 main events if you were drawing money with the big champion, Pedro, Bruno. But with Bob, they did, and this is why I think they could bring this back, and it was brilliant when I was reading it. And actually, I want to go back and watch the third match, apparently, or the fourth match can't be found, but I want to watch the other 3 matches. The first match, Pat won by disqualification. Second match, he won by countout. Third match, double countout, where like both managers knocked out their wrestler, and then they got counted out. So now you have Bob lost 2, but not by pin. And then there was a draw, or no one won. So then the final match, which you actually can find online, I have it on DVD and everything, Bob Backlund versus Pat Patterson in a steel cage. And of course, by WWF rules, there was no pin. So Bob Backlund finally won, but they drew 4 sold-out houses, and Pat Patterson made a great point that Bob Backlund may have beat him in the final match, but he never pinned Pat Patterson. Pat Patterson started to wind down his career and took a backstage role with Vince, who was at the beginning stages of taking over the company. And his last official match, to my knowledge, was the Sergeant Slaughter angle. And the angle was Sergeant Slaughter, who was the top heel for the WWE, and then eventually became their biggest, I would say almost like at the same level as Hogan, babyface, was doing the Cobra Clutch Challenge. And basically, you know, he was abusing all these, like, you know, job guys and whatnot, and, you know, having conflicts in interviews with Patterson. He kept challenging Patterson, and finally he attacked Patterson, bloodied him, put him in the Cobra Clutch, wouldn't let it go, which led to, I think it's in my top 10 of favorite matches, which I have to actually compile one day and put on the Twitter and talk about on the show. That's the segment we should do, like our favorite all-time top 10. But the New York Street Alley fight, Madison Square Garden, where Pat Patterson wore the most ridiculous outfit, but somehow he made it work with the cowboy boots and the jeans tucked into the boots and the I Love New York t-shirt. And they had a bloody match with no referee. The Grand Wizard threw in the towel. It was, you know, that was like probably, see, like I said, like one of the greatest matches ever. And it topped off his career. After that, he did not slow down. He retired from in-ring competition, but he basically became a figure backstage. And essentially, I think without Pat Patterson, the WWE probably would not have achieved what it achieved.
Yeah,
because
he's coming with a lot of them finishes for the matches.
He had the idea for the Royal Rumble. He was Vince's closest friend and confidant. Him and Pat basically booked the territory. Before they had all these fucking writers and idiots that didn't know what the fuck they're doing and yes men, it was Vince McMahon and Pat Patterson. And I think a lot of that genius that Vince gets credit for was Pat. And Pat became like a second father to a lot of wrestlers, and then had new life. And then in the 90s, as we all remember, as a stooge, and ironically worked a couple matches with Briscoe. And these two guys in their 60s were still able to work. For two guys technically out of shape in their 60s, they were still able to have some interesting, good matches. And unfortunately, in 1998, the night of King of the Ring, a very sad, when one of the most iconic nights in wrestling was happening, one of the, again, in my opinion, one of the greatest love stories that wrestling has ever known, ended when Louis passed away of a heart attack the night of the King of the Ring in 1998. And, you know, it was sad. It was kind of sad to, you know, because I knew that fact, but then reading the book, it brought it back to me. These are two guys in an era where it wasn't acceptable. As a matter of fact, Pat Patterson was under investigation by the U.S. government in hopes of deporting him because, ooh, evil Gage, we got to like deport him. Ooh, this devilish French Canadian. He might, I don't know, butter our croissants. We don't know. Ooh, is he, you know, whatever. And these two guys found each other, and, you know, being married to a wrestler is not easy, gay or straight. And Louis, you know, think about being with somebody for 50 years and followed him everywhere he went. I mean, they had a great life in San Francisco, like a great house that'd be worth millions now. They had a thriving business. He was a star. And he would up and move whenever Pat had to go somewhere. And they relocated to Connecticut, and they relocated to Florida. And, you know, and Pat would do tours of Australia, Japan, you know, and all these other countries, be gone for 6 weeks. And Louis was there throughout life. I think part of the bond with the McMahon family started with Vince Sr. and Vince's mom. They were one of the only wrestlers actually that got invited to stay in the McMahon's like vacation home. And a large part of that was Louis. It was like Louis and their relationship, and Louis coming in and hanging out with the people and kind of playing the role of the wife. And, you know, it played, I think, a huge role in his success in wrestling, but also, you know, it's just two people in love in a way that you rarely see in this day and age. And very sad that, you know, unfortunately, Louis had a heart attack on that night. Pat went on to continue to work for the WWE and sometimes would take breaks. Pat Patterson finally passed on in, you know, last year or 2 years ago in 2020. Another reason why 2020 sucked a bag of dicks, and not in a good way. And, you know, he was a gay icon without having to be a gay icon, because I think the importance of him being openly gay in wrestling, and again, this is coming from a white straight guy, is that he just showed like, look, I'm a guy, I'm a wrestler, I'm one of the boys, and just because I like men doesn't make me different. You know, if that makes sense. And he showed that it wasn't a big deal and that you could draw money and you could be just one of the guys, that it was a non-issue. And I think he was a gay icon by not being a gay icon, by being successful and just living his life and not being ashamed. He didn't broadcast it. That was his choice. But if you walked up to him and said, hey, you're gay, and you go, yeah. Even the Iron Sheik used to joke, you know, with Patterson about, you're like, oh, you're looking at my pecker in the shower, you know, and like the Iron Sheik, who came from Iran, you know, it's like, this is a guy who I think opened a lot of doors and showed and helped people get used to an idea that at that time was very, very foreign. And Pat Patterson made the wrestling business better by being in the ring and being a great mind. And it definitely lost something when now that he's gone. But I also think he did a lot for the social aspect in the locker room and just, you know, dispelling and breaking down stereotypes. And I think, you know, when Pride comes around, remember Pat Patterson as the guy who did it his way, as a great wrestler, and as a proud, unashamed gay man when it really, really was dangerous. When you think about the absurdity of a French Canadian wrestler being under investigation by the FBI for being gay, you know, and this guy never batted an eye or had a hair out of place. And he was truly one of the wrestling greats. And like we said, we're two accepting guys. This is an all-inclusive wrestling podcast. So, you know, thank you, Pat Patterson, for everything you did.
Thank you.
And we are going to continue. It's not technically going to be Pride, but we're going to continue on with this. We're going to cover Chris Colt and Sandy Parker, and I'm going to see if I can do some other research and dig up gay and lesbian, bisexual wrestlers and whatnot, and their further advancement, because Pat wasn't the only openly gay. He might have been the first, but he wasn't the only one.
Oh, yeah. So with that being said, another episode in the books here at Pilgrim on Wrestling. And like I said, unfortunately, it was a lot of things. I'm right now in the midst of moving. You know, he had a ear infection. A lot of things been going on, but we're going to get it back, and we're back. And like I said, Pro Wrestling Smoke, episode 10 is free right now. You listen to this on Wednesday. Pro Wrestling Smoke drops on Monday. This one is the one that just came out. Is free. You can go back and listen to it and the whole nine, so you can see what you're missing if you're not subscribed to the Premium Smoke Room. And so with that, go ahead.
No, and we are going to eventually make it a video podcast. Again, like you said, he's moving. I got, you know, actually, I was going to tell you, I'll have to save it for another show. But there was before the show, I had to go to the doctor, and I had a huge chunk of fucking wax removed from my ear, and I'll send you a picture after. But I had a little bit of an incident because I did not wake up in a good mood. I had to go to the ear doctor this morning, and there was a little bit of an incident where I lost it on somebody. But we got to go. We try to keep it to 2 hours, but 2:30 for us is not bad. So we're gonna let you go.
Not bad at all.
And we'll cover it. But yeah, we're gonna be doing that. That is still on the deck. We're getting back in our groove. You know, it's again, we live regular lives and we're still juggling other careers. So sometimes, you know, and also Kavanaugh is like trying to take over the podcasting world by you know, doing like 157 podcasts. So, you know, we're getting back in the groove.
Oh yeah, stay working. So with that being said, people, life is a learning experience. What's the point of the experience? You didn't learn anything. Smoke that over. And before he signs out, I just want to say this. We support all women. Yeah. And trust me, we felt y'all pain when that ruling came down. Because I have daughters. So this changed my daughters' lives. You know, period.
And not only that, but like this affects Black and Hispanic women more. So yeah. Which is funny as fuck because all the states that are right now trying to ban it, they're white populated and have the highest concentration of white women aborting babies. Smoke that over. Go ahead, sign out, Billy. Well, I will say this: if Stacey Abrams becomes our next government, you can come to Georgia because that shit ain't gonna be happening.
Oh yeah.
But no, I am going into Exotica. There's a lot of amazing things about to happen for me, and I stand on the precipice of having a very good second half of 2022. And my life has improved by leaps and bounds. And being in the industry, a lot of my good fortune, a lot of the money I make, a lot of the happiness I have is because of the women I work with. So we do support women. We are pro-choice. We did feel your pain. It definitely knocked the shit out of me that day. But you guys will never bend a knee, and you're definitely going to get the final laugh on this one. So until next time, when it's Vader time, we'll see you then.
Deuces. Hey, how you doing? Let me tell you about a great deal. Why don't you come on over to the Premium Smoke Room? There ain't no smoke like Premium Smoke. I'm talking about 4 premium podcasts. I'm talking about Miss Spit Queen and the Porn Rap Star. I'm talking about Pilgrim on Wrestling. I'm talking about Causing Havoc with Princess Havoc, as well as the Read Daily Report. Oh, I'm sorry, 5 STO Dark. Plus also extra premium episodes for some of the hottest ladies and gents in the business of porn. And all this for $4.99 a month. I'm talking about 5 to 6 extra episodes a week on top of the free shit that you get. So do the math. Great deal. Only on Spotify, only on Anchor. Come check me out. Come catch this premium smoke.